Hi there guys, how's it going? So the Foretellers have officially released in the Japanese version of Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. All 5 of them are there. We're still waiting on our version to be updated to 3.0.0. Hopefully that's really soon. Our in-game countdown seems to imply it's going to be tomorrow, but then the Cena stream seems to imply it's going to be shortly after I recorded this video. They confirmed that we will be getting version 3.0.0 tomorrow. Back to the video, we'll find out when it happens. Anyway, I want to talk about which Foreteller medal is the best. Now that they're all out in the Japanese version, I'm assuming I'm going to get a lot of questions of which one should I pull for, whatever, when they eventually do reach our version. Potentially they'll release them like, again, the scattered out one at a time sort of thing they did in the Japanese version, or potentially they'll do what they did last year when they released all 5 Foretellers at the same time in 5 separate banners with their own Mercy attached to it. If you weren't aware, they have a 10 pull Mercy in the Japanese version each. If we do see that again, people are going to be asking, okay, which one should I go ahead and pull for? In my opinion, the answer is Era, without a doubt, and then Ava after that, with Gula probably taking a third, and the other 2 tying last. But if that's all you're here for, then, you know, no worries. But if you want to hear the explanation, here we go, basically. So, there are 5 different Foreteller medals. I'm going to go ahead and jump straight to this one right here for Envy. I'll put it like this. All the Foreteller medals basically buff themselves perfectly, right? So Envy being an upright magic medal, for example, buffs itself perfectly towards the upright and magic attribute, as well as getting rid of the enemy's upright and magic defenses, as well as getting, you know, giving itself perfect +7 general attack and -7 general defense. So absolutely perfect across the board when attacking with their own attribute. Literally couldn't get any better at the current buff cap. They overwrite to that attribute, to that amount, so if you can cast this thing, it's going to hit with the perfect buffs. There's no other way around that. They're tier 8 medals, hitting extremely strong with a pretty good AoE multiplier. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, in terms of strength, these are things are very, very, very good. They also have a little gimmick of buffing defensively a little bit as well. The theory being that you want to use a magic type medal against a power type enemy, so they give you, you know, power-based defense to take your opponent's, you know, your power-based opponent's hits well, as well as lowering the opponent's power-based strength. So again, magic type enemy against a power type boss, you know, enemy, what have you. Magic type medal against a power type enemy is very, very, very good buffs against that. Currently almost the best in the game. So there are 3 medals that are identical, changing only an attribute, being Envy, Aced, and Gula. Again, switching only in terms of their own attribute buffs. Again, power for Aced, speed for Gula, magic for Envy, and the defensive buffs that they give off. Again, Aced being a power type, being strong against speed, and Gula being a speed type, being strong against magic. That's not too hard to comprehend. All of them give off +2 to the counter, which I'm trying to say in the red and blue numbers there. Hopefully that's clear. +2 to your gauges, which again I'm trying to say with that gauge. Like I already pulled that number straight off Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. That's the literal number 2 from your gauges. Hopefully that's clear. As well as giving you 100% to your guild, which I've tried to represent down the bottom here and at the top. In terms of the multiplier. So hopefully it's all clear. If you guys like these spreadsheets, definitely let me know, because I'm still tweaking them, but I think I'm in a pretty good spot with them right now. They also have a really weird gimmick of turning the very next medal that you cast, making it hit as their own attribute. So the idea behind that is, let's say, again, you take this thing, okay, this one's speed that I've got up right now, you want to use it against a magic type enemy, like Demix will likely be this month, in what, a week from now? If Demix has, let's say, it's, you know, being a magic type enemy, for whatever reason is immune to magic type attacks, that could very well happen. If you want to go ahead and use this, let's say on, I don't know, a Keyblade. Like, let's say you go ahead and put this, let's say, on slot 5, and you have your pet medal being a magic type medal. Well, that's all well and good, except the magic type medal is going to heal Demix off, probably. Except if you have this, you know, let's say you have Gula here in slot 5. I'm just doing this on the fly, sorry. Gula here in slot 5. You go ahead and pop him there, and then you have your friend type medal, your friend medal in slot 6. Then it will hit super effectively. And that happens across the board. Like, let's say, for example, again, you want to have, I don't know, a magic type medal in slot 2, you want to put Era or Aced out the front. Yeah, that's basically how it happens. There's nothing too complicated there. So I've mentioned those 3, but I said they're objectively worse than either Era or Ava. The only thing they have in their favor is the fact that it's a 3-turn overwrite buff, which is good in theory, right? But I don't know. I consider it nowadays as in, like, okay, if that's PvE content, you're going to be constantly casting your own buffs every single turn anyway. And it's not like in the past where you needed multiple turns to potentially build up. Like, they're putting you at the perfect amount of buffs every single turn, which is great. Let's say you want to put, like, I don't know, PvP, I guess the perfect application for this. Your opponent's probably going to be debuffing you anyway though, so I don't know how much use you're going to get out of that, as well as the fact that you're going to be bringing your own buffs in anyway. I don't know, I guess it could help you in like strategies where your opponent doesn't really try to debuff you, but only tries to use like paralysis or sleep or whatever, and tries to make you skip the first 2 medals. I guess if you have one of these medals there, then that could really help with that. I don't know, someone better at PvP than me can probably tell me if that's good or bad. In my opinion, I don't see it being that useful. Like, it's a great that it's a 3-turn buff, but I don't see it being that useful anyway. Why I think Era is superior than, let's say, Aced, its, you know, upright power counterpart, is, or Era first away off the bat gives you 120% boost to your guild, which it's going to keep climbing on forever and ever, which is fine, as well as getting rid of all 3 tiers of PSM defense. So just compare that to Aced for a second there. Aced only gets rid of power, and Era gets, bam, all of them, P and S and M. So from that regard, objectively superior, but the only difference is it only lasts for 1 turn, which, depending on how you take it, might be worse or might be better. Not better, it couldn't be better, but it isn't necessarily worse. Ava, being the defensive medal that she was the first time she was released, is very, very similar here, in the way that Era does all 3 PSM, you know, defense lowerings. She raises your PSM defense, even though she's a magic type medal, and lowers the opponent's PSM offense, which are by 3 stages, which is very, 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 very good. You want to consider, though, with these overwrite medals, like, I think of having Ava right here, and then going, okay, she's perfect. With Mrs. Incredible, she complements her extremely well, because, you know, you raise your defenses and lower your opponent's PSM offense, and then you have Mrs. Incredible to lower their general attack. It's pretty much a perfect medal, but you do want to use them in the correct order. With the overwrite medals, they affect the things they affect. It's a weird way of saying it, but all those icons that you see at the top right there, they only affect those stats, okay? They only affect, you know, general attack, general defense, everything like that. They don't touch attributes that, I don't know, like reverse power, reverse defense, anything like that. So when you have, let's say, Mrs. Incredible or Kari or Shion EX Plus, who lower the opponent's general attack by, let's say, 2 stages instead, if you use that and then use this, you're fine. But if you use this and then one of those, that puts you down at, you know, that'll actually do a tiny little buff back to him. Basically, what I'm trying to say is use Kairi, Shion, and Mrs. Incredible first, and then that second. That's all you really need to know. It doesn't need to get more complicated than that. The multipliers are pretty cool. They hit pretty powerfully at max HP, but I really can't imagine a circumstance where you'd use them on anything almost but max HP. So I'm just assuming they're going to be at full multiplier almost all the time. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and have a look at their multiplier. Okay, so the AoE graph is back there in all its glory. Have a little peek at that if you like. I'm just going to zoom it in to the tippy top there. So you can have a look and see that in terms of AoE multipliers, they are second best in the entire, or tied second best in the entire game, only to a, you know, max gauge as Mickey or Young, whatever that Pete medal is. I always forget its name. Again, you're much more likely to use these things because evolving those medals to 7 star is probably, at this stage of the game, a pretty big waste of your tier 8 fairies, given how rare they currently are. I tend to give AoE medals a bad rap, and that's usually because, again, it's a really, really big fight for resources in this game, and I usually would give tier 8 fairies to single random target medals, no question, just because as good as AoE medals are, they hit so much harder. I want to figure out a way of showing you like the combined graph with all these things on it, but it's a little bit too messy right now. But just, I mean, you know the usual number of like Bob and Jack being around the 66.7-ish mark, significantly higher than these things. But these things have a real place on keyblade setups, in my opinion, especially Era. So I don't know, again, I said Era was the best and the rest were kind of crap in comparison. And the reason behind that is, I mean, again, in my opinion, Aced and Envy are objectively weaker or worse off than Ava or Era. Gula is a funny case though, because Gula being the only upright speed one is like, okay, if you need upright speed, you might have a case to use him. In my opinion though, I'd much rather pull for Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku. If Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku had a Mercy and so did that, I pick Riku 10 times out of 10. It's so much better because, I mean, again, as an AoE medal, yes, it's slightly weaker. You can see it right down there, just below the stained glass, just below the, you know, the pluses. It's, yes, a little bit weaker as an AoE, but again, the fact that it can switch to single target means it is so much more useful in the long run. And again, with limited jewels, you'd be so much better off pulling Riku. So much better off pulling Riku. Again, I don't need to explain it, but you can use it in PvP, you can use it in raid bosses, you can use it in whatever kind of content you need. The second there's only one enemy or part left, bam, it switches over to single target, hits like a friggin' truck again. Again, not the best multipliers in the entire game, but for the fact that you're only buying one medal and investing all your resources into it, objectively superior in my opinion. If I might be allowed to dream for just a moment and think of a really hypothetical setup that I could potentially reach that doesn't involve Kyrie and could deal really impressive damage on Fairy Stars, I might build something like this. I have 3 out of 5 of these medals right now. If Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku ever comes back as a Mercy, I would love to snap that thing up, and then I would have to evolve my Riku replica to 7 stars, and I'd be pretty much golden. So I'd have, you know, Era out the front, Era providing as many upright buffs as I possibly need, all the power-based buffs that I possibly need, the general strength, the general defense, and the PSM defense, you know, wiping away from the enemies. Therefore, all we need from that is we need a little bit of magic-based strength, speed-based strength if you want to hit with those attributes. The magic-based strength is put up, is given to us by Roxas in the next slot there. It's going to hit with the reverse multiplier, obviously, which we haven't really buffed, but it's going to do an impressive amount of work by itself. It's going to get rid of all the reverse-based defense and will give you +3 to your reverse-based offense, which is pretty good. Obviously, we like a little bit higher reverse-based offense, but hey, you can't have everything. Again, it's powered up magic, so we go move on to slot 3. Bob and Jack hits like a friggin' truck, as we know what to do, and Riku Replica does exactly the same thing. Then along comes Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku hitting with the speed. Again, if there's any enemies left, like multiple enemies left, it's hitting at AoE. If there's only one enemy left, hitting as a single target. Very, very, very powerful stuff. Now you might say, well, what about Gauge Restore? The top 3 medals there, so Era, Roxas, and Riku, Kingdom Hearts 3 Riku rather, all restore a little bit of gauges for a high cost medal, so 4, 6, and 6 respectively. If you put on a skill though, like AB 6 or 7 max, and SP, you know, 1, 2, or 0, you're actually going to be restoring gauges off those medals. So yes, they're very expensive to run, but if you set them up correctly, you can actually get your gauge restore back off that. You're pretty much only missing defense boost, second chance, and I don't know, a heal at this point. And I mean, in PvP, obviously those things are very, very necessary. You might have to sacrifice one of these medals to pop a defense boost on it, which, yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but you kind of have to make sacrifices sometimes. And I don't know, for PvE content, like in Coliseum, you're trying to one-turn things as much as possible, so I guess you wouldn't really need the heal so much, and even the defense boost, like whatever. If you're trying to take everything out in one turn, I don't know. Again, the defense boosts aren't super necessary, but I'm thinking of like a Coliseum setup. I'd probably run something like this, or maybe like an AoE medal in slot 3. I don't know. I'm just thinking like I could run a setup like this and be very, very happy with it. Yeah. So in terms of my opinion of which one is best, Era takes the cake handily. Ava comes a little bit after if you need defensive medals. I'm sort of thinking that I don't really, unfortunately, as cool as Ava is, I don't really need defensive medals given that I picked up Violet before, and I'm lucky that Violet has extra attack in my case, so I can more or less do everything Ava can do already. If Era is a Mercy pool, I'm going to pull it 100%. Definitely, definitely. If it's a 10 pool Mercy, then here we go. That's 30,000 jewels in the, you know, not down the drain, but they are definitely going to be invested on that medal. I will still wait though, because again, there's no reason to rush out and pull these things immediately. Part of me is thinking like, okay, we've got 5 Foretellers. Now we're sort of due for some reverse power medals. So whether we're going to see reverse medals in terms of, I don't know, big bad guys to go up against the Foretellers. I don't know, Master of Masters, Lushu perhaps. Like we don't know. So I won't do it the second they come. Well, I might do a few pulls the second it comes out, just because I'm really itching to pull again. But it's been so hard not to pull for Riku. You have no idea. Like I know how good that medal is, and I'm like, man, I want that thing. If it comes back as a Mercy, I am snatching that thing up in a heartbeat. It's worth noting though that JP got a high score challenge as well as all the rest of the things they're having right now. So they got a high score challenge for Zebra Coat, Final Boss, whatever you want to call him, Semnus. I didn't think, like, I sort of thought we'd get this eventually, and I was like, man, in January, they'll probably give it to us with the Zemnis event. But here it is now. So a Zemnis medal, it's identical to Bob and Jack, except it deals 4 hits, and it's obviously reverse power, but a very good medal, an extremely, extremely good medal. Interesting that it only drops at 6 stars. Well, not interesting, I guess. It would be to have that thing given away at 7 stars would be pretty ridiculous, but no, only given away at 6 stars, which I guess is fair enough. Has the potential to be extremely powerful, and to earn that, the percentage, there's so many percentage medals that contribute towards that. It's absolutely crazy. Like, effectively everything up to Prime, Roxas, and Xion, I think, and potentially one medal before that, is eligible as a point medal in JP, which that's a hell of a lot. That is a hell of a lot of medals going towards the high score challenge, so it's going to be a very, very difficult one to try and, you know, make a general, well, I don't know. It's going to be a very, very competitive one, I imagine. Who knows what it's going to be like in our version if we get it though. We're already still behind on a few high score challenges, and given that our medal release was a little bit different. I don't know if it's going to be exactly the same challenge or not. I hope it is. I really do hope it is, but I guess we'll see. Lots of questions right now, given that, I don't know, I still don't know when we're going to be updated to version 3.0. Whether, I mean, the in-game countdown says it's going to be very, very soon, but, you know, Glacier on the stream today was like, oh, we can't tell you when it's going to be. I don't know if anyone knows what's going on. I guess we'll find out soon. Anyway, guys, I'm really curious. If you guys want to make a case for either, you know, I kind of crapped on Aced and Envy here, and Gula a little bit as well. But if you want to make a case for him, I'd love to hear it. I really, really do want to know your opinions on these. Like I said, in my case, Era is the guy. But anyway, guys, I'll leave you with that. I'm getting... I can't talk. It's way too late. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. All the best. Bye.